Welcome back to Today Assets Report, your go-to destination for the most critical updates in the world of digital finance and blockchain technology. If you are holding XRP or even just watching the charts from the sidelines, you absolutely cannot afford to look away right now because the landscape is shifting under our feet as we speak. We have been tracking some incredibly intense developments over the last 24 hours that suggest tomorrow could be a massive pivot point for Ripple and its native token. There is a lot of noise out there in the crypto space, but today we are cutting through the fluff to bring you the cold, hard facts about why the community is currently on edge. This isn't just another day of market volatility. It feels like the calm before a very significant storm that could redefine your portfolio's value in the blink of an eye. Whether you are a long-term diamond hand believer or a swing trader looking for an exit, the data we are seeing suggests that the next few trading sessions are going to be some of the most consequential we have seen in months. You might be wondering why everyone is suddenly sounding the alarm bells when XRP has shown such resilience in the past, but the technical indicators are starting to tell a story that many investors simply aren't ready to hear. We have seen a series of lower highs on the shorter time frames, and while the broader market is trying to find its footing, XRP seems to be struggling against a very specific wall of institutional selling pressure. It is almost as if the big players know something that the retail public is still trying to figure out, and that creates a very dangerous environment for those who aren't paying attention to the order books. Tomorrow represents a deadline for several key market triggers, and if the support levels we have been relying on don't hold firm, we could see a cascade of liquidations that would send the price reeling. It's not about spreading fear. It's about being prepared for the reality that the upward momentum we all enjoyed recently might be hitting a massive, unexpected roadblock that could stall progress for weeks. The legal drama surrounding Ripple has always been a cloud over this asset, but the latest whispers coming out of the regulatory circles suggest that a new hurdle might be appearing just when we thought the coast was clear. While we all celebrated the partial wins in court, the SEC's persistence is creating a lingering sense of uncertainty that institutional investors absolutely hate. Big money likes clarity, and right now, the clarity we thought we had is being replaced by a fog of new filings and potential appeals that could drag this process out much longer than anyone anticipated. This bad news isn't just about a price dip. It's about the fundamental sentiment shifting from victory lap back to wait and see. When the market enters a wait and see phase, liquidity tends to dry up, and that is exactly when we see those sharp, painful corrections that catch people off guard. If you haven't checked the latest filings or the sentiment scores across major trading desks, you might be walking into tomorrow completely blind to the risks. Let's talk about the whale movements because the on-chain data is showing some very suspicious activity that usually precedes a significant bout of volatility. We are seeing massive amounts of XRP being moved from private wallets onto exchanges, and in the world of crypto, that is rarely a sign of a massive rally. Generally, when whales move their bags onto exchanges, it's because they are looking for the exit door or preparing to hedge their positions against a projected downside. This spike in exchange inflow is hitting levels we haven't seen since the last major correction, and it suggests that the smart money is bracing for a hit. Tomorrow could see these orders hitting the books all at once, creating a supply shock that the current buying demand might not be able to absorb. It is a classic setup for a shakeout, and if you are leveraged or playing with money you can't afford to lose, this specific pattern should be a massive red flag for your current strategy. Furthermore, we have to look at the global macroeconomic environment, which is currently doing no favors for high-risk assets like XRP. With the latest inflation data coming in hotter than expected and the Federal Reserve signaling that they might keep rates higher for longer, the appetite for crypto is starting to wane among the traditional finance crowd. This risk-off sentiment usually hits the mid-cap coins the hardest, and XRP is sitting right in the crosshairs of this shift. When people get scared about the economy, they pull back to cash or gold, and the speculative fervor that drives XRP rallies starts to evaporate. This isn't just a Ripple problem. It's a global liquidity problem that is hitting a boiling point right as we approach tomorrow's market open. If the stock market continues to show weakness, the correlation between XRP and the S&P 500 could drag us down into a support zone that we haven't revisited in quite some time, making it a very bumpy ride. The psychological level of support that we have been boasting about for the last few weeks is currently being tested in a way that feels different this time around. Usually we see a strong bounce whenever we touch these key zones, but the bounces are getting weaker and the sell-offs are getting faster. This suggests that the buyers are exhausted and the bears are gaining confidence with every passing hour. If we break below the current floor tonight, tomorrow's watch before tomorrow warning will seem like an understatement because there isn't much historical support below us until we hit much lower levels. Investors need to realize that the market doesn't care about our loyalty to a project or how much we believe in the utility of the XRP ledger. The market only cares about price action and liquidity, and right now, both of those factors are pointing toward a potential trap scenario where the remaining bulls are being lured in right before a final flush out. In addition to the price action, there is a growing concern regarding the competitive landscape for cross-border payments. While Ripple has been the king of this space for years, new stablecoin regulations and the rise of central bank digital currencies are starting to create a more crowded field. Some analysts are suggesting that the bad news might be linked to a major partner reassessing their reliance on XRP in favor of a more stable, government-backed alternative. While this is still in the realm of speculation, the mere rumor of such a shift is enough to send ripples, no pun intended, through the market. Tomorrow, we expect more clarity on certain partnership updates, and if those updates aren't overwhelmingly positive, the disappointment could be the catalyst for the sell-off everyone is fearing. You have to ask yourself if the current price reflects the reality of the competition, or if we have been living in a bubble of optimism that is finally starting to pop. Social media sentiment is another area where we are seeing a massive shift as the typical to-the-moon energy is being replaced by genuine concern and heated debates. Whenever you see the community this divided, it usually leads to a period of intense volatility because no one knows which way the wind is going to blow. The XRP army is usually one of the most cohesive groups in crypto, but even within the ranks, there are whispers of de-risking and moving into more stable plays until the current storm passes. This loss of social momentum can be just as damaging as a bad court ruling because it reduces the number of new buyers coming into the ecosystem. Without fresh capital to push the price higher, the path of least resistance becomes downward. We are watching the mentions and the engagement levels very closely, and the trend is not looking particularly healthy as we approach the next 24-hour cycle. One of the most overlooked aspects of the current situation is the upcoming options expiry and how that might influence the spot price of XRP. Large-scale traders often use options to manipulate the price toward a max pain point, and for tomorrow, that point seems to be significantly lower than where we are currently trading. This means there is a financial incentive for the big institutions to push the price down to ensure their contracts expire in the money. This kind of market manipulation is common in the crypto world, but that doesn't make it any less painful for the average holder. If you see a sudden, unexplained drop in the early hours of tomorrow, don't be surprised. It's likely the result of these institutional games being played out at the expense of retail investors. Understanding these mechanics is the only way to stay sane in this market, but even with that knowledge, the actual price drop can be a very tough pill to swallow. We also have to consider the technical death cross that is looming on some of the medium-term charts. For those who don't follow technical analysis, a death cross occurs when a short-term moving average crosses below a long-term moving average, and it is historically one of the most bearish signals in all of finance. We are dangerously close to confirming this pattern on the daily chart, and if it happens tomorrow, it will trigger algorithmic selling from bots all over the world. These bots don't care about Ripple's vision. They only see a mathematical signal to sell, and that can create a self-fulfilling prophecy of declining prices. This is why we are telling you to watch before tomorrow, because once these automated systems take over, the speed of the decline can be breathtaking. You want to have your strategy in place before the machines start doing the heavy lifting for the bears, otherwise you'll be reacting to the news instead of anticipating it. Let's not forget about the internal developments at Ripple Labs itself, as any executive movement or shift in corporate strategy can have an outsized impact on XRP. There have been some quiet changes in the way the company is handling its escrow releases, and some market participants are worried that an increase in supply could hit the market at exactly the wrong time. Even though these releases are scheduled and transparent, the optics of more tokens entering a weak market are never good. If Ripple decides to utilize more of their holdings for operational costs or expansion during a downturn, it adds to the overhead pressure that XRP has to fight against. This bad news might be a combination of several small factors that are all converging at once, creating a perfect storm that could wash away the gains we've seen over the last quarter. It's a complex puzzle, but all the pieces seem to be fitting into a bearish narrative for the immediate future. The broader crypto market is also looking incredibly shaky, with Bitcoin struggling to maintain its own support levels. As we all know, when the king of crypto sneezes, the rest of the market catches a cold, and XRP is particularly sensitive to Bitcoin's movements. If Bitcoin fails to hold its current level tonight, the altcoin market, including XRP, will likely see a much deeper percentage drop. This is the bad news that transcends just one project. It's a systematic risk that everyone in the space is currently facing. Tomorrow's economic calendar is packed with events that could trigger a Bitcoin move, and by extension, a massive XRP move. You have to look at the total market cap and the dominance charts to see the full picture, and right now, the dominance of altcoins is slipping. This suggests that money is flowing out of the higher risk assets and back into the safety of the majors or stablecoins, which is never a good sign for a breakout. Many of you have been asking if this is just a buy the dip opportunity. And while that has worked in the past, the current technical structure suggests this might be a falling knife situation instead. Buying the dip only works if there is an eventual recovery, but if the fundamental or technical floor has moved, you could just be adding to a losing position. We are seeing a lot of trapped buyers at higher levels who are waiting for even a small bounce so they can break even and get out. This creates a ceiling of resistance that makes it very hard for the price to move back up. Every time we try to rally, these traders sell into the strength, effectively capping any potential gains. This is a very frustrating environment to trade in, and it's why we are urging caution as we head into tomorrow. The risk-to-reward ratio for a long position right here is simply not as attractive as it was just a few days ago, and acknowledging that is part of being a professional investor. So, what should you actually be looking for when you wake up tomorrow? First, keep a very close eye on the volume. A price drop on high volume is a much more serious signal than a drop on low volume. If the volume spikes while the price is cratering, it means there is true conviction behind the sell-off. Second, watch for any official statements from Ripple or the SEC, as any news there will override whatever the charts are saying. Third, pay attention to the buy walls on major exchanges like Coinbase or Binance. If those walls start to disappear or get eaten through quickly, the downside could be significant. This watch before tomorrow warning is meant to give you the head start you need to make rational decisions rather than emotional ones. The worst thing you can do in crypto is react out of panic when the candles are turning deep red, so having a plan, whether that's a stop loss or a specific entry point, is absolutely vital right now. In conclusion, while we always hope for the best for the XRP community, the evidence for a challenging day tomorrow is mounting rapidly. From whale movements and exchange inflows to technical death crosses and macroeconomic pressures, the signs are all there for a potential correction. This doesn't mean the project is dead or that XRP won't reach new all-time highs in the future, but it does mean that the immediate path ahead is fraught with danger. We are here to keep you informed and ahead of the curve, so make sure you are subscribed to Today Assets Report for the most up-to-date analysis as this situation unfolds. We will be monitoring the markets all night and will bring you any breaking news the second it hits the wire. Stay safe out there, keep your emotions in check, and remember that in the world of crypto, being informed is your best defense against market volatility. Would you like me to analyze the specific technical support levels for XRP to see where the price might land if this sell-off happens?